Today I want to talk to you about the importance of appearing poor. Appearing, not being poor, anyone can do that. But you, who, thanks to years of study and hard work, have built real financial success. Can you resist the temptation to show off your wealth just to make your annoying neighbor jealous? Or to get back at your ex-wife's co-worker who made a fool out of you? Well, that's not so easy, but it would definitely be the wiser choice. And today, we'll see why. In this video, we'll go through 6 reasons why you should appear poor. Let's begin. 1. Financial freedom matters more than appearances. When people hear the words financial freedom, most poor, or better yet, financially ignorant, individuals, no offense of course, immediately associate it with luxury cars and fancy watches. But if they understood that financial freedom has nothing to do with that, they probably wouldn't be poor in the first place. If I had to describe financial freedom as clearly as possible, I'd consider 2 definitions. First, the ability to do what you want, when you want, without worrying about the cost, and without having to work just to survive. You work because you enjoy it, because you're passionate, but you're free to stop anytime. Take Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. He's still playing soccer at 40, not because he needs the money, but because he loves the game. With this definition, and staying realistic, usually having $2 to $3 million managed wisely can give you lifelong financial freedom. Second, my personal favorite. Financial freedom is having options. Here's a personal example. I recently calculated that I could live for about 20 years without working at all, without changing my current lifestyle, before I'd run out of savings. This doesn't mean I want to stop working, but it means I could if I chose to. I could take on new adventures or take a long break just to travel and relax. Simply knowing that this option exists lets me sleep peacefully. Knowing that losing a job, facing a crisis, or unexpected expenses wouldn't ruin my lifestyle. That's financial freedom to me, having the option to do things, but not necessarily needing to. Could I live off my savings until I'm 90? No, not unless I dramatically cut my expenses or move to a very cheap country in Asia. But being able to go 20 years without working if I wanted to already feels like financial freedom. Of course, this time frame is subjective and depends on your lifestyle. For me, the only relatively expensive hobby I have is travel, and I'm lucky enough to do that 2 to 3 months a year. While it's costly, it's not extreme. I don't have any interest in luxury items, for example. Now, if I had very expensive hobbies or vices, that 20-year estimate might shrink to 10 or even 5 years, a much shorter period, and not something I'd still call financial freedom. But what does appearing poor have to do with financial freedom? The first reason is simple. Appearing poor gives you freedom. And I'm not the one saying this. Billionaires say it. Take Warren Buffett, one of the richest people alive. Does he live in a giant mansion? He still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958 for $30,000. Or Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of the world's largest online rehab center. Have you ever seen his photos? He's almost always in a simple t-shirt and jeans. Maybe he secretly has a luxury wardrobe? Who knows? But the truth is, those who are truly wealthy have nothing to prove. Am I saying that buying luxury cars or clothes is always wrong? If you're passionate about these things and can afford them, great. But if you're doing it just to impress others or because of social pressure, it's a huge mistake. How many people seem to have everything, but behind the scenes are drowning in debt? That's the point. Do you really want to be the person who borrows money just to buy a designer bag to impress co-workers? Maybe it's time to rethink what being rich really means, which is very different from looking rich. 2. Less stress, more peace of mind. Let's talk about stress, something we all try to avoid. And as you get older, managing stress becomes crucial to protect your health. When you force yourself to look rich, you don't just increase your expenses, you also increase your anxiety. Imagine buying a Ferrari. At first, it feels like a dream come true. But then reality hits. The insurance costs a fortune. Every visit to the mechanic costs you a fortune, and we're not even talking about gas prices yet. At some point, you realize you're basically working just to maintain your dream car. Your entire life revolves around it. Is it really worth it? The more expensive stuff you own, the more you have to worry about maintaining it. Of course, there are exceptions. For example, an expensive watch or bracelet has almost no maintenance costs and may even increase in value over time. But nothing is guaranteed. Before making a luxury purchase, always ask yourself, can you truly afford it? And will it increase your stress level? Fewer luxury items, fewer problems. 3. You avoid the wrong people. One of the big advantages of appearing poor is that you avoid attracting the wrong people. Let me tell you about Mark. Mark was your typical guy who, as soon as he started making money, felt the need to flaunt it. First, he bought a sports car, then a luxury watch, then some other flashy accessories. His goal? Obviously to impress women. He thought that by showing off his success, he'd attract the woman of his dreams. Well, guess what? He did attract women, but not the kind he wanted. These women were much more interested in his car and expensive gifts than in him. They flattered him, praised him, but as soon as he stopped paying for fancy dinners and gifts, poof, they disappeared. And here's the crazy part. Mark started complaining, saying stuff like, "Women are all gold diggers. They only want my money." Here's what Mark doesn't get. If you show off money and luxury, you'll attract people who are interested in money and luxury. It's simple cause and effect. He's now complaining about the consequences of a strategy he chose. If instead he had kept a low profile and appeared more modest, he would have attracted women who cared about who he was, not what he owned. And I get it. Sometimes what you own, especially if you built it yourself, says something about who you are. But it's not wise to expose yourself too much. The downsides far outweigh the benefits. Bottom line, if you try to look rich, you attract the wrong people. But if you look poor, the people who approach you do so for real reasons. And the best part? You'll never have to wonder if they're only with you for your money. You'll know they appreciate you for who you are, not for what you own. 4. It's simply cheaper. It's a simple fact. Appearing poor costs less. Think of all the people who feel like they have to own the newest smartphone every year. Every year, Apple releases a new iPhone. And you see people lining up outside stores at 3 a.m. just to be the first to show it off at work the next day. But do you really need a new phone every year? Think about it. If, back in 2007, instead of buying the first iPhone for around €500, someone had invested that money into Apple stock, they could have bought about 135 shares, which today would be worth roughly €30,000. Now imagine if someone had done that every year, instead of buying 10 iPhones over the past 15 years, and invested that money into Apple stock. By now, they'd have several €100,000. That passion for a shiny gadget cost them a house, maybe 2. This is a perfect example for those who think they're clever and say, "You only live once, spend it now." The reality is, over just 10 years, not 100, people who think that way end up spending less, owning fewer things, and experiencing fewer things than those who invest smartly. The person who spent €10,000 on iPhones over 15 years ends up with far less than the one who invested that money and now has 30 to 40 times more to spend. Now, a small disclaimer. Apple is an extreme example because it had exceptional growth and is one of the top companies in the world. But even if you simply invested in something like the S&P 500, which represents the 500 largest US companies, you would have seen excellent returns over the years. To wrap this up and tie back to what I said earlier, am I saying buying an expensive smartphone is always wrong? But ask yourself, can you really afford it? What will you use it for? Do you really need to upgrade every year? And why are you buying it? If it's just to impress your cousin, you're heading down the wrong path. The smartphone is just one of countless examples I could give. 5. You find joy in simplicity. This is one of my favorites, finding joy in simplicity. When you have less, you start appreciating what you already have. Think of all the things we take for granted: a home, comfortable clothes, food on the table. Instead of always wanting more, we can learn to be grateful for what we've got. When you simplify, you become happier and less stressed. And trust me, this isn't some random hippie talking. This is coming from a ruthless capitalist who's just being objective. So believe me. 6. Looking rich won't make you happy.
Have you ever heard of the happiness paradox? It's the idea that no matter how amazing something is, eventually you get used to it. Buying that designer bag or sports car feels amazing at first. But how long does that excitement really last? Weeks? A month?
Studies show that even people who win the lottery return to their previous happiness levels after just a few months. That's because in the end, happiness doesn't come from material things. It comes from experiences, relationships, and having the freedom to choose how you live your life. And there you have it. Now you know why appearing poor is a smart choice. It doesn't mean walking around in rags or living in a wooden shack. It means focusing on what really matters: freedom, peace of mind, and genuine relationships.